Hi, and welcome to the Scenic podcast. This is the show for building a successful and sustainable business on your terms. My name is Jen, and I'm a rebranding sociologist with a soft spot for rhubarb pie. Each week, I'll strive to expand your branding, business expertise, and mindset capacity. I'm so excited you're here, and now let's get into today's episode. A former celebrity personal trainer and elementary school teacher, Jess turned her once cute side hustle into a multi-million-dollar business in just 18 months. Since leaving her teaching job in 2017, Jess has hired a team of incredible heart-centered leaders, served hundreds of clients, and helped them generate over $20 million in revenue. As a result of donations and the awareness she and her company, the Digital Business Evolution, have generated, Jess was able to fund the building of a school in Ghana, Africa with pencils of promise. Jess has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Yahoo Finance, Today Show, Good Day New York, The New York Post, Shape Magazine, as well as Well and Good. As evident through her business, life, and philanthropic endeavors, Jess' mission is to cause a ripple effect and inspire change for generations to come, making a massive impact along the way and leaving a lasting legacy beyond her singular actions. Jess, welcome to the Scenic Route podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Jen, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait. I love podcasting is literally my favorite thing.
So true. So, hey, Jess, give us for anyone who's listening and doesn't know you yet, can you please briefly walk us through your journey, how you started, how you got where you're today? What were your pivotal crossroads and big moments?
Oh my gosh, I could talk forever. So buckle up.
I know, the easy one at the beginning.
It's interesting when people read my bio, oftentimes it just sounds it's so impressive and like this overnight success that happened. And that's not the case. So we're recording this at the beginning of January, 2023, which is pretty crazy, which means that I just crossed 10 years online. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Nothing that you see though has happened overnight by any stretch of the imagination.
It never does, right?
No. And we're up on now 6 years as a full-time entrepreneur since leaving my teaching job. So I'm going to take you back for just a moment to 10 years ago. In 2012, actually, I started online coaching totally by accident. I was a full-time elementary school teacher. I was a personal trainer. I actually was a personal trainer for 18 years, but I got into the coaching space accidentally because at the time I was doing bodybuilding competitions and my coach lived in Massachusetts and I lived at the time in New Jersey, and I was paying her through email and she would send me my workout programs. And so at that time I had been a trainer for probably 12 or 13 years. And so I had this light bulb moment back in 2012 of, wow, I can email all my friends from high school and college who don't live in the same state as me, and I can offer to help train them online because they're always asking me to help train them and I can charge them.
Yeah. I mean, they're asking you anyway. You're doing it anyway.
Yes. Yeah. So back in 2012, I was receiving checks in the mail, like actual checks in the snail mail, $79 for a month of training with me.
I love it.
And I never sought out to be a business owner. Honestly, I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I already felt like a failure because I come from a family of doctors, lawyers, and accountants. And I was a teacher who had dropped out of my doctorate program. And
okay, there's some juiciness there, I'm sure. Okay, go on.
So I just honestly was doing it twofold. One, to fulfill a need, a gap that I felt in my heart. Like I'd get home from school at 3:25. My husband would get home from commuting to New York City at 9:00 at night. So I had a lot of time. And I felt a void. The other thing was we literally were living paycheck to paycheck, the American dream, completely house poor. And I needed to do anything that I could to make ends meet. So I was doing it for those two reasons, never thinking it was going to turn into anything. Fast forward very quickly through, 2013, 14, 15, I got into network marketing. I got into blogging. I started selling ebooks. And again, this was just a side hustle. I call it my cute side hustle. I never had a coach. I wasn't trying to be an entrepreneur or leave. I wasn't trying to leave my job. In 2016, this is really important because it was a pivotal moment. I was driving to work. It was October of 2016, and I was on Route 287 in New Jersey, driving to work, drinking my coffee, listening to a podcast. You and I both, back in the day, listening to a podcast. This man was interviewing a woman, and she was a teacher. So I'm like listening because I'm a teacher.
Okay,
wait, me.
Okay.
She was selling jewelry on Etsy. I didn't tell you
No.
I was also doing that. I actually went to fashion school.
Okay. So, like, what did you not do online? Like back in the day where like online businesses was like gloriously easy.
Yeah. I tried it all. But never to build a
Nice.
business, just to keep myself busy. So after I dropped out of my doctorate, I actually went to fashion school, lived on my brother's couch in New York City for a year, did the whole like Devil Wears Prada thing. And it was
Poor
awful.
artist.
It was
Yeah.
awful. So anyways, she's selling jewelry on Etsy. Now I'm perked up even more because I also made jewelry and sold it. And so he said to her, if you gave yourself 1 year to go all in on the jewelry company and it didn't work, what would be your worst case scenario? What would happen? And she said, well, I've been a teacher for a decade. I had been one for 8 years when I was listening. So I've been a teacher for a decade. I'll go back and get a teaching job. I might have to go to a different district, but like, I know I can get a job. And his answer changed my entire life. He said, oh, how does it feel to wake up every day and live in your worst case scenario? What? How does it feel to wake up every day and already be living in your worst case scenario? So I pull the car over. This is October 2016. I'm bawling.
Yeah, I need to stop and hope like
right?
Starbucks sells like booze because like you need something strong after
right?
that.
So I'm crying. I
Holy.
text my husband, Mike, if I say his name again, that's who he is. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Teaching a 6-minute commute, living in a beautiful home, paycheck to paycheck. Like it's not my worst case scenario, but it's definitely not my best case scenario. And if I left and whatever I wanted to do didn't work, if I was just going to come back, then why wouldn't I just try? So that night I went home. We started to play with numbers. We were looking at what would it look like if we just lived off of his salary? How long could we make it? What do we have in savings? Do we have to sell the house? And just about 6 weeks later, right after our holiday break, I walked into my principal's office, January 2nd of 2017, and I just resigned. I walked in and I resigned, and I had no plan. My cute side hustle was making like $300 a month. I did not replace my income.
Which is nice if you need like an extra couple of bucks to go have
Right,
dinner
but
right? But it
wasn't
not
50,000,
sustaining you.
right? 50,000 was my teaching salary. And so it was not replacing my income, not even close. And I had no plan. My only plan was remove your ego, check your ego, right? Because ego is our biggest overhead. It costs us the most time, energy, and money. And Jess, you might have to do things that you think you're above. I was like 32 at the time. So I was an adult. I had a mortgage. I had multiple degrees. You might have to do things that you think you're above. And you just need to do whatever you need to do to make ends meet. Ask for help, raise your hand, get in the room, try things. Don't be afraid to fail. Get the job that you think you're above. And that's what I did. And so when you read that I built a multiple 7-figure business in 18 months, from the day that I quit my job, but not from the 5 years I had already been teetering and toying and playing online.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's so crucial, right? Like you always hear the stories of like someone who went through, I don't know, an online course and they had this big success. And it's like, yeah, they did, and it helped them. But it's also because they had something already in their backpack that was helping them getting to that point, being able to receive whatever knowledge that was in that course and apply it and go do it. And that's completely different as when you're just like, okay, completely new, completely doing something completely else, which often, right, it's not the case, right? Like most of my clients are service providers and they kind of like accidentally fall into the online space, right? Like, oh, I've been writing copy forever anyway. So, and like, or I was like at an agency and I was a copywriter. So I started, hey, I could do this on my own. Like that kind of journey. So you're like, you already have so much experience in your back. So the whole kind of like overnight success kind of like changes anyway. But oh my God, I'd still kind of like that podcast interview. Yeah, I mean, I get it. That was kind of like, okay, kind of like not want to be like living my worst nightmare or like just not something that I'd be like, hey, okay, no. But then I also love that you said, okay, you went home, you kind of like did the homework, you crunched the numbers, right? Because yes, there is so much room for listening to intuition, taking the leap, whatever, following the bliss, whatever, but kind of like being smart about it. And kind of like, hey, like if I want to go all in for a year, let's actually like be smart about it. So
Yeah, let me look to see if I have a safety net. How can I create a safety net? How big is my safety net? And I never claimed to do anything alone. I was very fortunate that my husband had a job and a salary, and we could live
Yeah.
for a couple months off of his salary and our savings. And, we didn't want to touch our savings, but it gave us a clear picture of what would I need to do or create and how quickly would I need to do it in order for us to feel comfortable or safe. And so what we started doing, that was January of 2017, which I still had, half the school year left. At that point, we lived in New Jersey, and 2, 3, 4 times a week, I would take the train into New York City because we knew we were going to be moving to New York because that's where he worked. And for me, I was in the fitness industry, and that was where I wanted to be in the fitness industry and really grow that business. So months ahead of time, I started taking the train into New York after an entire day of work at school. I'd be at school, I'd train 2, 3 clients after school. I'd then take the train in at 7:00 at night. I'd pay $40 to go take a class at some like cute little studio in New York. And then I'd take the train all the way back home by myself. It'd be 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to get to the gym before I went back to work. And so I sort of put in the work, building relationships, showing my face, meeting people. And so when we finally moved into New York a couple months later, the whole fitness industry, they thought I lived there. They had no idea that I had been like commuting in and testing places.
Oh my God.
I had job offers left and right, not because I'm amazing. I had job offers because I was putting myself in the room and making myself known because we checked the finances. But we checked to see like, what does this look like? And, I'm not going to just sit behind the computer all day and try to launch programs. I'm going to have to pick up some shifts at a gym or train clients and get in person and network and meet people and make money. And so that's what we did.
Yeah. And that's another thing I like, I'm so happy you say that, right? Like I see so many people kind of like tending to, okay, I'm going to do a course. Like I have knowledge, I want to do a course. Yes, brilliant. Like nothing against that. But I often get the impression when talking to them that they kind of see this course as like a band-aid of like not showing up.
Yeah. Or like a ticket to freedom.
Yes, a ticket to freedom, or like, okay, I can do this course. I can run ads. I can do like, as if they're kind of like hiding behind it. And it's not really working that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. No, it doesn't work that way at all. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see new coaches and online entrepreneurs make is that they slap together a course. First of all, they make it before they sell it, which is the number one mistake. You should not be creating anything if you haven't sold it. You should sell it first and then go make it, which we can talk about. But okay, so we'll come back to that. But also just, creating a course and then thinking that it's just going to magically sell living on your website that no one actually goes to, or putting a ton of ad money behind it, like you're saying, when you don't actually have proof of concept or client results or clout or authority. And so now you're running ads to really kind of a dead space. And then you blame the ads and say that ads don't work, which is not true.
You're
underperforming. You might have the wrong audience dialed in. You might have the wrong messaging. You might have the wrong transformation, the wrong price point. So there's so many things that you could be missing, where I'm a huge advocate for live coaching, at least at the beginning of any program that you put together. So I'm a veteran in the industry, right? 10 years. I still will not put a program out without running it live first. So if I want it to be an evergreen course, I'm still going to bring a coaching component in for the first round or 2 or 5 or 8, because I need that client feedback. I want to be in the weeds with them, having conversations. What's working, what's not, what do you need from me? How can I better message this? How can I better launch and market this? And let me collect the testimonials and the data and the feedback.
Yeah. I mean, it's free market. It's paid market
Yeah,
research.
They're actually paying you.
Right? Like, I mean, exactly. Like that's the beauty of if you're doing like even if it's just a small beta or whatever, and they just paying you a couple of bucks, right? Instead of like the full final VIP price, whatever. It's paid marketing. So if you're leaving that out, you're just doing your course into the void and you have no idea what's actually happening, if people are taking the course, if what people are doing with it, and so on. Hey, before we kind of like, I absolutely want to talk about like the don't sell before you, like don't make it before you sell it, or the other way around. But but before, like circling back, you've mentioned such an important point. And it's kind of like where also we have our ego coming in, right? Like when we start out, usually like because we know as I've said, like we're great at writing copy, and then we're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this as a business. And then even like, oh, I can do a course on how to write your like about page. Yes, you can do all those things, but it's, as you said, you have to be willing to do things that you feel are below
Yeah.
you, because you are, I don't know, a certain age, or you have a PhD, or you have a doctorate, whatever it is.
But aren't those the best leaders? I mean, when you think about like true leadership, like my brain just went to like military for some reason. When you think of true leadership, a captain, a sergeant, a whomever, someone steering a boat, a captain, like what do? They jump in and they do the things that maybe are below them, right? I'm supposed to be flying the plane, but when something is going awry, I might have to jump in and now help out with something else that I wouldn't normally do. That's leadership. That's true leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And similar, I mean, if someone is like a really like wolf nerd, they might call me out, but I once read that if like a pack of wolves travels, like the leader of the pack is actually the last wolf walking.
Sure. Leaders eat last. Simon Sinek wrote that book. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So they're kind of like moving past. You see there's no one left behind. That if there's anything coming up, they're clearing the way, right? Like, I love that. So we already said our own worst enemy is our ego most of the times. So how can we bring our ego to either quieten up for long enough for us to do the things that we feel are below us, or how can we shift the script? How can we flip it?
Yeah, ego's funny. We could talk about this a lot. So there's a lot of different variations of ego, and it's not bad. There's no good or bad. There's no such thing as good or bad.
It has a place. It has a purpose.
Absolutely. And most of the time it's just trying to keep us alive, because that's its job, is to keep us safe and to keep us alive. So what we want to do is we really want to lean into building the relationship with our ego. We want to fall in love with our ego. We want our ego to be our best friend, so that we can quickly discern why she or he is showing up in that moment. Like, are you here to protect and serve and save me for something that's dangerous? Or are you here because you think something is dangerous, but really it's not a saber-toothed tiger. It's just a new investment I'm going to make, right? Like, it's like, can you discern?
Yeah, it's just something new. So you say, oh, uncertainty.
Yep.
But it's just new.
Yeah.
It's not uncertain. It's not unsafe. It's just new.
Yeah. So an exercise that I love to really start to learn your ego and learn yourself, because it's all about self-awareness, is this visualization. I love analogies and metaphors. So I visualize like a boardroom, high up in a New York City skyscraper with the big table and all the glass windows, and sitting at the table, there's 6, 7, 8, 9 different seats at the boardroom. And it's your inner child. It's the child version of yourself. It's the older version of yourself. It's your highest self. It's your not so highest bitter self when you're not being your best self.
They're a sinful little bitch.
Right? Yeah. All the different seats at the table are different versions of you. And this is your ego. This is a board meeting with your ego. So when you're coming to a place of uncertainty, of decision, of trying to listen to your own intuition, can you quiet yourself for a second? Like literally just close your eyes, take maybe 3 deep breaths, walk away from the room that you're in, shut the phone off, get into a new physical environment to get yourself into a calm state. Once you're in a calmed central nervous system state, and it's not about doing an hour and 20-minute meditation, it's just take a breath or two. Close your eyes and envision this boardroom meeting, and then go around and simply ask all the different versions of yourself, why are you here today? What would you like to show me? What is your reason for being here? What do you want to tell me? Thank you so much for being here. I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. I'm moving on to the next version of myself. Why are you here today? What are you here to show me? What do you need from me? How can I support you? Right. And you sort of have this conversation with all the different versions of yourself, and you can sort of quickly start to navigate your own ego and really build a partnership. Like my hands are clicking together like the little lobsters from Friends, right? Like build a partnership with your ego. It's not about pushing it away, resisting it, or throwing it away. It's not going to work. You have to listen to him or her. She's screaming or he's screaming at you. Yeah.
I love that visualization. It just reminded me of like, I have a similar one, but with me, we're all driving in a car. I don't know. I'm more about the scenic route of travel. So that's probably my approach. So it feels like it's a huge clown car and everyone is in. So I can always be like, brain, I know you like the steering wheel, but it's time to get in the back seat now, because we got to let someone else drive now.
Yeah.
Right. To kind of really be like, hey, who is calling the shots right now? Is it brain? Is it inner child? Is it wounded child? Is it like who? And then be like, oh, interesting. Well, thank you for driving, but I think someone else can take over now.
Yeah. Yeah.
and just be like, really, yeah. And it doesn't need, I mean, at the beginning, when I was really new to kind of like the whole self-empowerment or self-discovery journey, I was like, oh, I gotta make the time, for like an hour-long meditation. And like, and at one point it was like, I can wait another year to have enough time to do like a whole eat, pray, love thing, or just do, I don't know, a minute.
Yep.
5 minutes, whatever is there, whatever bucket of time, and just start doing
Just start there. Yeah. Yeah.
I love this visualization. It's much more C-level boss energy. I love it.
No, I like your scenic route. I'm like back in the car, listen to the podcast.
Yeah, let's go to the cloud car.
Are we there yet? No, honey, we're not.
God, yes. No, not by a long shot. But that's actually also the beauty of it, right? Yeah. You got to be comfortable with not being there yet. And that's what you've said, right? Like with that you feel like other people see the online course as kind of like the quick ticket to escape. And you're like, well, be really clear what you're escaping from. And kind of like you're moving with a different energy if you're trying to escape from something, versus I'm deciding I want something better and I'm moving towards that.
Yeah. But the joke's on us because the destination is in the doing. I mean, the only way you get there is when you die. So like, where are we all rushing to get there? Like, there's the end of the journey.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. I love that you said that. Yes. Yeah. It's so true. That was one of my, that was actually the moment how the Scenic Route was born.
Really?
Yes. I was on a call with my coach, Emma Natter at the time. And I was like, I just want to like reach that next level, like just whatever, fucking done with this shit, right? And she's like, okay, but then what's next? I'm like, well, then there will be another. There will be another layer, like the Tower of Babel. It just always be another. And then she's like, well, okay, but let's imagine for a second you reached all the staircases, you've reached everything, you're at the top of the tower. What you gonna do? And I'm like, yeah. Well, honestly, I'd probably jump down because I would the fuck be bored.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, yeah, that's the point. Yeah. And I'm like, shit. Then I really had to be sitting with that uncomfortableness because I'm like, it's never done unless you're done.
Yeah. But this is something that I think runners do really beautifully. So I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner at all. I'm a jogger.
I heard that analogy too. Apparently runners do this one.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is, if you've ever gone out for a walk, jog, run, and I think we all have at some point, you're like, especially if you're quote unquote not a runner, you go out and you're like, all right, Jess, I'm just going to make it to the end of the street. When I get to the end of the street, I'll allow myself to walk. And so you go and you get to the end of the street and you're like, I still have gas in the tank. I actually feel okay. Okay. I'm just going to get to the fire hydrant. And when I get to the fire hydrant,
I can do 5 more minutes. I can do 5 more minutes.
Go to the tree. And so we just keep, and you keep moving the finish line. And so the joke is on us because that is it. Like we're all going to continue to move the finish line. And that's beautiful. That's growth. That's evolution. That's what we want. So there's no end to the race. The end is when you're literally no longer here, when you can enjoy the process of the next tree, the next fire hydrant, the next road sign, and realize that like, this is it. This is not a dress rehearsal. Like this is it. We're in it right now. It's not a race to the finish and it's not a race to the fastest. It's the destination is the doing, and the doing, the journey, the unraveling, the unlearning, the relearning. Like this is it. This is the best part.
Yes. This is the Scenic Route.
Yeah.
We could, I mean, can we record this again? Like maybe we should just have this snippet so I can use it for advertising.
It is the Scenic Route. It is the Scenic Route.
Yes, it just is that, right? And I feel that that's also such a powerful reframe of if whenever you're realizing you're hitting another block, maybe, I mean, first it was like maybe the 5K months, and it was a 10K months, and it was maybe the 20, 50, 100K months, whatever. We're always kind of like, oh, now I'm stuck again, where you can use it as a reframe and be like, yeah, you're stuck now because you've leveled up.
Right.
And you're given another opportunity to be like, hey, how can I do this again in a way that feels fun and exciting and expansive to me, and not like I'm burning myself to the ground.
But this is literally the name of the show. It's like you're taking the Scenic Route and then all of a sudden you hit a roadblock, because a tree has fallen down and you can no longer go that way. So you don't just quit. You don't just sit in the car and turn it off and like sulk. You're like, okay, well, we're going to go a different way. And hopefully the navigation will help me because I'm just going to turn down this street and I hopefully find it. And the next thing you know, you end up going down a street that you wouldn't have gone down. You see something even more beautiful. And there's a store that you wanted to stop at that you didn't know you wanted to stop there. Right. And so it's like when you come up against that upper limit, when the tree falls down, when it starts raining, when the scenic route all of a sudden turns into a dead end.
And you have no more gas in the tank.
Yeah, you just figure it out and you go somewhere else and then it takes you on a different journey.
Yes. And it's also like you just gotta be willing to really kind of like ditch the whole blueprint, whatever idea, right? Like, and it's also not about like there's no path in front of you. And it's not about you forging a path and you seeing the path ahead of you, right? It's just really do one step after the other and see, well, do I like this enough to keep going on? Or like, will I like it more if I change directions or not?
Yeah.
Or what can I do to like it more? So I'll keep on going. Yeah, I love this. Ooh, yes. Also good. Okay, but I want to come back and I feel I already hear like all coaches listening in screaming like, can we talk about the sell before you have it? And I'm like, yes, let's switch to that before we have like a whole like song of worship dedicated to the Scenic.
I was not paid, by the way. That just came out naturally. So this idea of selling it first, disclaimer, this is what I believe, and this is what works for myself and all of my clients. So I do believe it is a complete and utter waste of time, energy, and potentially money if you create something first. Now, when I say create, I don't mean come up with an idea and I don't mean talk about it. I mean like literally filming videos and making PDFs and playing on Canva.
Glossy sales pages.
Yeah, fancy sales pages, like any of that stuff. What I believe is you should sell it first. And when people pay you, then you start to create it. So what do you need in order to sell it first? Number one, the understanding that this is not bad, wrong, or manipulative. This is Kickstarter. This is Kickstarter. This is Indiegogo. This is literally you saying, I have an idea. It's going to yield this transformation. It's going to help you in these ways. This is who it would be for. This is who it would not be for. If you're interested, pay me. When you pay me, it tells me that there's market demand. It tells me that you want what I have. It tells me that I have nailed the messaging of it. Once you've paid me, I'm going to go rush and I'm going to hustle and I'm going to get my booty to work and I'm going to start creating the assets, the deliverables, and those little shiny things that feel like the most important part, but they're not the most important part.
No, I mean, seriously, no one is buying your course because you add another bonus.
No, they're not. And most of us don't add bonuses the right way anyway. For the record, side note, bonuses should be handling an objection or creating a transformation to get someone ready to buy the thing that they want, that you want them to buy. A bonus should not just be some weird thing in the arsenal.
Yeah, kind of like having them ready for the next step in the client journey.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't just be some like thing that you have collecting digital dust from 4 years ago.
Oh, wait, I have this template. I have this boilerplate laying around. Maybe throw this into.
Yes, that's not going to work.
We're working with smart people and they'll see through your bullshit.
Yeah.
But this is so true, right? Like, I mean, I know I've invested in similar ways, right? Like, I mean, I remember I jumped into a program with a business coach because she sent me a link to a Google Doc. And it was like really like just a Google Doc and the fonts were all wanky. And I'm like, the brand expert in me is dying a little bit.
I know, but it's such permission.
Let's hang on for a second.
Yep.
And then she had me, right? Like, it was just really like, yeah, as you said, like, this is the idea. I don't really yet know in what form the deliverables will show up, but this is the first time I've run this. Are you with me? Cool.
Yeah.
If not, you're happy to join in a year or two when it's all like shiny and glittery.
Totally.
And I mean, you can always do like, she had like a pricing incentive because it was the first round and she figured everything out, which is great. But she had money in the bank. Whereas if she would have done a glossy sales page,
right,
got a copywriter, got a designer, got whatever, she might have not.
Right. You need that proof first that people want it, that you've locked in on the messaging, that they understand the transformation, and also run it a couple times, get feedback, make it better, get testimonials that you can add to your fancy sales page, like get the results from clients that you could then speak to in your marketing about the case studies of Jen came in here on A and left on Z, and I think it's really important. This is another huge mistake that a lot of coaches make is or every entrepreneur, when you are selling something, most of us are too heavily focused on the deliverables, and the deliverables are the vehicle. So the vehicle is your framework, your proprietary method, your program, your course, your ebook. We're selling the vehicle rather than the destination or the island. So if we, again, go to a visual and I call you up and I say, Jen, do you want to go to Greece with me? It's going to be amazing. We're going to pack our suitcases. We're going to go to the airport. We're going to wait. We're going to go in line. We're going to check our bags. We're going to sit at the gate for 45 minutes. We're going to take a 7-hour flight. Oh God, it's going to be incredible. Are you in? You're like, I mean, Greece sounds cool, but like maybe. And then if I call you, I say, Jen,
that's really stressful,
right? I say, Jen, do you want to go to Greece? We're going to like hang out on the beach. We're going to go to that Scorpio's place where everyone dances on the tables. We could smash plates during sunrise. We're going to have cocktails and mocktails. We're all going to wear white. We're going to do that cool like photo shoot with the big dresses on the white rooftops with the blue water. Are you in? You're like sold.
Like, yeah, sure. I'm already on the plane.
Right. Exactly. So what we're doing, most of us are selling the airplane. We're selling the 12 modules, the 75 videos, the whatever, blah, 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 instead of the transformation of A to Z. Listen, you've been here on Island A where it's raining and cold and gross, and you want to go to Island B where it's freaking incredible and we're partying on the beach. Let's go to Island B. Not, I can get you there with my 7-step modules, with my 52 videos, with my 14-page workbook. It's not about the vehicle. It's about the transformation.
Yes. And it just reminds me of like that quote. I have no idea who said it, but it's kind of like, if you want someone to buy a ship, you have to like ignite his desire for the sea. And like, we're moving away, and I'm so glad I see this more and more in the coaching industry or across online world. We're moving away from like pain point marketing and like triggering like, oh, you're like, but more of like, hey, just imagine how cool it would be if we're in Greece together, and not like, hey, you're missing out if you're not. So I really love that reframe on value. And it's also kind of like, hey, if we're starting out, we have this idea of like, hey, okay, this would be really cool. How do we navigate that? How do you like suggest people go about if they have an idea, they think it's kind of cool, they have gotten some feedback that, yeah, this is cool, but it's still a long way from, yes, this is cool, to I am actually going to buy this.
Yeah.
So if we're like at the very early stage, if you're listening and you're at that stage, well, what is the advice you would give people to be like, this is how you proceed in actionable terms to see if there's a market fit for what you want to do?
Yeah. So there's really 3 phases here that I teach, whether it's in your social media content, email marketing, really anything that you're doing. So the 3 different phases will break down, and then I'll go down a little bit further in each. So phase 1 is to validate that your offer, idea, need for it, messaging, marketing, verbiage is all spot on. The second part is the teasing of it. So you first validate it, and then you tease it. That creates that Hollywood hype, right? It's been 14 years since Avatar, and now it's here, and we've had all that hype and that promotion coming Memorial Day, right? So it's like the hype. And then the third part would be promotion, of course. So in the promotion is the doors are open, come here.
Okay. Yeah. 4 more days until car closes.
Totally. Yeah. Apply, call, whatever. In the validation phase is where market research would fall. Market research is a huge umbrella for a lot of different things. So first and foremost, it's putting content out and just seeing how your audience reacts to it. Not once. That's not valid market research. Like dozens of times in dozens of ways, short form, long form, reels, carousels, hard posts, TikTok posts, Facebook posts, like you have to test the waters and get a really good sample size. So putting out content and asking at the end of it, the CTA, it's like, if I were to do a training on this, is that something you'd be interested? Comment yes below.
Yeah, that's a good CTA.
Right? Like I'm thinking about putting together a free training on XYZ. Do you want to know about it when it's available? That's all you need to say.
I mean, so you already got people on like a very early bird list. that you can like nurture and be like, hey,
Yeah.
this is a little treat for you.
Sure. So you can do market research through your content. You can also, if you're in something like a free Facebook group and it's allowed, you can ask questions over there, not poaching clients, just asking if people are interested. More importantly, listen to what people are saying. So don't even post in the group, just read the comments. What are people posting? What are they asking for help on? What are they saying is hard? Where do they feel stuck? Use that as market research. Yeah. Another place that I love that I don't think a lot of people use is Amazon.
I was like, your thunder stealer, Jess. I'm not nicknaming you. No, because I was just like, for my branding sales page, I read all like the book branding reviews. Book reviews on Amazon.
That's what we do.
And we're like, that's like that branding book was like blah, 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 because blah.
Right.
And I'm like,
exactly. Yeah. So Amazon book reviews are great.
Such a good resource.
Yes. They're great. And they can't pay. It's not like Yelp. So they're there. They're real comments from people that say, I loved this because I wish it had XYZ. I didn't like this. Yeah. It's a great place. The best place to do market research. So we've said content, we've said Facebook groups, we've said Amazon book reviews. And the best place, because there's a lot of other places, is, ready, drum roll, real conversations with real people. So whether they're a client of yours or not, if they're a past client, if they're a friend, a family member, it's literally getting on the phone people, not DMs, getting on the phone with someone and actually just talking to them. Don't sell them anything. Don't try to pitch them anything. Just listen to them. You can do that in the form of a survey, Google Forms or SurveyMonkey. Get them on the phone though. That is so much more powerful. You can see people's emotion. If you're on Zoom, if you're on a call, you can hear the inflection in their voice, the tremoring of how badly they desire this thing, how long they've tried by themselves.
Plus, you really have how they you have the wording of how they talk, not how they write, which is completely different.
Yes. And you want to be writing that down. So whether you're recording it and they know that you're recording it, tell them, or you transcribe it after, or you just take notes while they're talking. Yeah. It's so important.
Oh, you make my social researcher heart so happy. No, but seriously, like when I do brand strategy. So yes, we talk about like client avatars and we talk about like client journeys and client pain point, whatever. And I'm always kind of like, look, there is merit in those exercises if they're not desktop research in your head projecting onto other people exercises.
Yeah.
When you're actually doing the legwork of talking to those people.
Absolutely.
And maybe you do it if you're doing conversations, do 5 to 7. That's totally cool if you're going for something qualitative, like qualitative research. If you have conversations, 5 to 7 is perfect. Yeah. And then also, as what you said at the beginning, if you're doing different posts, you got to do them more than once.
Yeah. And polls and quizzes. We can use all the feature boxes and something like Instagram. You can have all that stuff, but also screenshot the results. Don't just put up a poll and then like forget about the answers, like screenshot them, put them in a photo album called market research, and then circle back when you need to see what those people said.
Yeah. And like, also don't change. And that's what I often see is like, don't change all the variables in one go, right? Like maybe test the same message on all different channels.
Sure.
So you see if it's channel issue or a messaging issue.
Yep.
Like, and just kind of like see. So that way, what worked and what didn't. Otherwise, you just know something worked, something didn't. So, and just like to kind of like put the final nail into the coffin of like how many times you should do this. To reach statistical significance, you need to do it at least 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So that's that. No one does it 1,000 times, which is cool. But just, just like have the nail in the coffin. If anyone asks, like, how many times do we have to do this? It's at least 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So there you go.
More than 2.
So phase 2.
Yes. Okay. So that was all part of validating. And really what we skipped over here is really validating that the offer and your messaging has locked in, because most of us are teaching things that we once went through. So most of us are future versions of our ideal client, AKA we were our past client at some point. As the gap gets bigger, the way that you speak about it, that gap gets bigger too. And so what you think they need is not necessarily what they need, or how you speak about what they need is different than how they spoke about it back then. And I'll give you an example. So we work with a lot of health and fitness professionals, and a lot of times they'll use industry jargon, like they'll talk about
Ooh.
macros or they'll talk about functional training. And you have to remember, if you are talking to the past version of you a year ago, 5 years ago, 120 pounds ago, before bodybuilding
Would that
competitions,
term make any sense?
it wouldn't make any
whatsoever?
sense. At that time, you wanted to lose weight. You wanted to build muscle. It was very simple. You wanted to consistently get to the gym. So they're not worried about macros. They don't even know what macros are. Macros are intimidating. It's just, I don't want to diet. I don't want to diet. That's what they're saying. I don't want to diet, right? Like I've fallen off every diet. So really doing the research again and validating that the way that you're speaking about it has locked in on how they speak. Second grade reading level, like bring it all the way down. So phase 2 is the teasing phase. And during the teasing phase, you're letting them know that you're now actually working on the thing that you said that you were thinking about working on when they said that they were interested in it. So this could literally be you filming, screenshotting, and boomeranging, you working on the back end of it. Maybe you're working on Canva. It's really important when you're doing this to get them to buy in, to have skin in the game. So if you are doing something like creating an image on Canva, allow your audience to vote on the color or the font or the picture. Now, based on what they vote on, you don't have to choose what they voted on, but them doing that, number one, is a micro commitment from them because they're already committing to being involved and they're pushing a button. So you're getting them to take action. And then number two, when you do get to the promotion phase, whether they're actually interested in purchasing it or not, they're interested to see ego. Hello, did she or he pick what I wanted?
Did she choose the color I said?
Exactly. Yes. So there's buy-in. So during the tease phase, you're letting them know that it's coming, you're working on it, you're telling them a little bit more of the details, maybe who it's for.
It's just basically you're documenting what you're doing, right? Like I see people overcomplicating this all the time where they're like, oh, I don't know what I should like. I don't know what should I put out on social media. It's actually just that, document what you're doing.
And as it gets closer, the teasing becomes more detailed. So again, going to Hollywood, if you think about back in 1997, right? Christmas of 1997, we saw the Titanic cruising down the ocean, and all of a sudden the screen went black, and then Jack was on a door with Kate Winslet, I forgot her name, Rose, and then it just went blank and it said Titanic coming May of 1997. But then over the next couple of months, the trailer got longer. We saw more details. Now Leonardo DiCaprio's dancing in the basement of the Titanic. I'm obviously aging myself here. As it got closer, now all the main characters are on all the different talk shows, and all of a sudden they're getting interviewed by Oprah and Ellen and this one. And so what once was just like the name of the movie, now it's a 3-minute trailer. And now we're seeing the actors and actresses. And now we're learning more about the costumes and the idea of what's going on in the film until the day that it finally comes out. By the time that it comes out in May, and they first told us about it 6 months earlier, you kind of know everything, but now you're dying to go see the movie because you need to know how it ends. And the funny thing is, something like that, it's literally history. So you don't have to see the movie to see how it ended, but we're so bought in. They've teased us.
Yeah, we're so emotionally invested in all these people we have met, right? We just want to be like, oh, what's going to happen to her? What's going to happen to him? Like,
but we didn't meet the people on the first trailer. It was just like, boom, Titanic, 1997.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the teasing. And then the third and final is promotion. And this is the place where most people just go directly to. They go right to the sale without warming up the oven, right? They go right to asking for the date without buying you a drink.
Just let me put the frozen lasagna into the oven and we'll see.
Yep. So we want to make sure during the promotion phase, we're not just skipping ahead without the validating and the teasing, but we're actually doing our due diligence. We're taking the time. It's a slow play. And then when we get into promotion, this is where you can have fun with, do you want to have bonuses? Is there urgency? Are you creating any sort of FOMO or scarcity? Are there discounts? Is there a launch vehicle? Are you using something like a master class or a webinar or a challenge to launch the thing? How long are doors open? How quickly do they close? All of that gets played with in the promotion phase.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for breaking that down. That is super, super incredible, valuable. I'm now curious though. We had the Hollywood example with the Titanic, and I love it because it's really visual, and you're like, yeah, everyone has seen the first trailer and then the last trailer, and you're like, wow. So, I mean, you said it yourself, like the time frame between first and last trailer with Titanic, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. That's not our coaching, like our launching window in the online sphere.
It can be.
Usually. It can be, yeah.
It depends what you're launching. Yeah.
Exactly, it can be.
Yeah.
But what is kind of like, is there rule of thumb for how long each window should be?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, but it's relative to how much space you've given yourself. So we always start with the end in mind. So starting with the end in mind and reverse engineering, if a program is going to start on a certain date or doors are going to close on a certain date, and you know you want that the doors to be open for 5 days, you start with the day that they close, you back out 5 days, that tells you when they're open. From there, are you doing a launch vehicle, a conversion event like a masterclass? If so, what date is that? Then back out from there. How many days do you want to promote it? So if it's a free event, maybe you only promote it for a week, because anything longer than that, people probably will forget about it because it's free. So then you back out a week from that. Then you continue to back yourself out, and you might give yourself, depending on where you are today, because all of a sudden you've backed out, and you're actually at last week and you're like, wow,
I should have done it like last October. Like, darn.
So now you have to just take what you have and break it down into the 3 different phases. And you might go through phases faster as you become more seasoned, as you really know your audience, as it's a similar type of product or transformation. That validation phase probably will shrink down as your programs get more clout and credibility.
Yeah. If they know you have more testimonials. People like, oh, okay. Yeah. I bought the previous course. I know everything she puts out.
Exactly.
I'm like, is golden.
So my opinion is never rush validation, because that's the most important part. That's your messaging.
Makes sense.
But maybe the teasing can get a little bit rushed, especially if they already know, like, and trust you, or it has a lot of legs to stand on. So like our signature program, Empower, we're in our 17th round. We've been running it for 4.5 years. It's had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients. People that typically are interested in it already know about it. So I don't have to do too much teasing. Plus, I'm teasing it all the time anyway. Like every week when I'm on a coaching call, I'm teasing the program, even if I'm not in a launch.
I mean, you're teasing the program while you're here on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So the validation for that is going to get shorter, because we've pretty much nailed that messaging and we know people want it. The teasing is going to get shorter. So we actually get to put a little bit more energy into the promotion, which then means we get to make our launches a little bit more robust, and they're really fun, and we get to add more sales emails and more different things to it. So it just kind of depends.
Would you say, is there kind of like a relation between how long it should be, like how long each phase should be in relation to investment for client side?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the logical brain wants to say yes. However, I know that's not true. Here's the thing. If something is free, it probably doesn't need as much time. It just is true. They don't need as much runway when something's free. I mean, how many times have we come across something free that we didn't even know we were interested in, that we signed up for anyway, because we're like, it's free.
Yeah.
So you don't really need a lot of runway for free, but that does not mean that the bigger the investment needs a bigger runway. At the same time that we have our signature program, we also have a very high level elite mastermind, which is 4 times the investment. But that person, that level of entrepreneur, a 7-figure entrepreneur, are the people in our mastermind, high 6 and 7-figure entrepreneurs. They don't need a lot of runway. They just need to know that it's available for them. So it does not always equate. Know,
okay, it's available. It has maybe a certain start date.
Exactly.
Who knows?
And like they're ready to go. It's not their first investment. They have tons of overhead. They're profitable. They know it's where they want to be. So I do think it just depends on, again, knowing your client, our avatar that we talked about. Where are they at? What are they struggling with? What do they need to overcome? What type of objection might be coming up for them? Is limiting belief and mindset stuff something that's coming up for them? Or are they like so far beyond that? They literally just need to know, what day are the calls? Okay, cool. It fits into my schedule. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it just depends on really like who is the person that you're selling to, and then think about their journey. What did they need? It's going to be different. But free probably is less. Higher ticket is going to be a little bit more runway, but it's not always the case.
Yes, it's not that. I love that. Like, we're just kind of like have that demystified. It's not always the case. We often think like high ticket needs more work on our part, which is yes and no, right? We have to, it might require more work on ourselves.
Sure.
But not necessarily more work in like, oh, I have to do, I don't know, more free webinars or boot camps or whatever.
Well, it's interesting. I've been in high level elite masterminds for 8 years and I've been running them as well. And like, there's no webinar. There's no masterclass to join my mentor's program, like the actual masterclass, the mastermind. Now his signature program that's priced like our signature program, that's a whole big launch with all these mastermind like webinars and whatever, like we do. But funny enough, the thing that's 3, 4, 5, 6 times more of an investment, there's no funnel. It's no
more like kind of like a speakeasy, I feel, where, you know, like, hey, it's here. I know you've done another program, like we vibed really well, you know, like here's my mastermind. What do you feel about it?
Yep.
I love it. So it does get to be easy and fun.
It does. Systems and structure create freedom.
I love it. That's such a good word to kind of like end this podcast. I couldn't have done it better. So we have two final things. So you don't hang up now, who's listening. Like we have two final things. A, you brought something with us for anyone who's listening in today. Jess, what did you bring?
Oh, I have so many different things that I can gift. And I was wondering
access
what
to
would
the
be.
Vault.
I know. I was wondering what would be the most powerful. And I started this episode with saying how much I love doing podcasts. And this is just so much fun. So we actually have a really cool free training to help you land more speaking engagements, whether that's on physical stages, virtual stages, or podcasts. So that way you can gain exposure fast and for free, and you get to borrow other people's audiences, right? So we have a really cool free training there. But my favorite part about the free training is that we actually have pitch page templates for you. So we're teaching you how to create a one sheet or like a pitch page. And then we're giving you templates that are all different vibes, and you can just sort of change the colors and change the font and add your own stuff in there. So I'd love to gift that to you. We can give you the link in the show notes, but it's going to be jessglazer.com/pitch page templates. So that would be my gift.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And feel free, if you're listening in, feel free to use this and send it to me. And if I'm like, yes, love it, you're going to be in the Scenic Root podcast next.
Oh my goodness. You heard it here first.
Yes, you did. So where
that.
can people, like you already said, we're gonna link it. So where do you hang out online? What is like, you already had your website, jessglazer.com.
Sure.
Like, where are you? Are you on TikTok? Are you on Instagram? Where you hang out the most?
All of the above. We're literally everywhere. I hang out most on Instagram. My handle over there is my married name, so it's a little different. It's I am Jessica DeRose. So that's where I hang the most. Come say hi, DM me, voice memo me there. Same thing on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Love it.
All the places, YouTube. But definitely come listen to our podcast. We do 2 episodes a week. We have lots of business strategies, some mindset stuff, lots of guests. So Digital Business Evolution is our podcast and our YouTube, but come say hi.
Yay. Yes, everyone, please do. So before I let you go, Jess, I also have one final question. What book are you currently reading?
Ooh, gosh, I'm actually reading a few. I'm a huge book nerd.
Yeah, that's my staple there.
Like, you're reading all of them at the same time?
Well, not all 6 of them, but 4 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm maybe weird that way, but
wow, good for you.
The last one I started was the Book of Lymph.
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, it's actually I've just started, and it's showing you like how to do self massages to kind of like improve your lymph system and like all those things.
Very cool. Yeah, so I'm currently reading 2 books. One is I'm rereading it. It's called Ask by Ryan Levesque.
Oh, yes. Good one.
Very good book. And then I'm also reading, it's right here because I'm actually interviewing her on my podcast in just a minute, but Wealth Codes by Candy Valentino. Or I'm sorry, Wealth Habits by Candy Valentino, which is a really great book. And I just committed this year, as it's the first couple days of the year, I am committed to, while I have no issue reading 30 to 50 books a year, I'm committed to 10 of them being fiction. I don't know the last time I read a fiction book. So I'm very excited.
One of them is a fiction book. So one of them is.
Very excited to do that. My girlfriends and I have kind of committed to hold each other accountable. Yeah.
Yes, that's so important, right? Like I feel we're always reading so much business books that we're kind of like, when did you actually just like read like a novel or poetry? Just something for like just something else.
Yeah, fun and creative. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Hey, Jess, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining the Scenic Root podcast, for dishing out all your truth and knowledge bombs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to the Scenic Root podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and that you can take something from it that feels right to you. I'd be so grateful if you could share the Scenic Root podcast with others. Head over to scenicrootpodcast.com to check out all the links and resources from today's episode. Oh, and while you're there, don't forget to download my free email course, Intuitive Branding Invitation, to teach you how you can successfully tune into your own brand frequency and rediscover your brand's unique gifts, strengths, and talents. So thanks again. Talk soon.